called a 4-7-8. And the intention of this is that we're gonna be inhaling through our nose for 4 seconds. We're gonna be holding for 7, and then we're gonna be exhaling through our mouth for 8 seconds. Now, how we exhale, it's called Ujjayi breathing, okay? The best way that I can help you kind of visualize it, think about fogging a mirror without opening your mouth, okay? And if you can maintain a solid exhale when you grapple, you're gonna maintain a solid heart rhythm. When you maintain a solid heart rhythm, you're gonna maintain a solid thought. And so the purpose of the 4-7-8 breathing is to connect the brain and the heart and synergy and imbalance when you're grappling and then when you go through life, okay? And then I'm gonna add another technique that it's gonna start making sense why you, if you studied Hickson Gracie and some of his breath work, and he's all about exhales, I'm gonna show you where that comes from the yoga tradition, okay? So what we're gonna do first is we're gonna do the 4-7-8. Before we do that, let's go ahead and sit in a meditative position, and I'm gonna break down the framework of how to properly sit in meditative framework, okay? And you're gonna see how this complements into a sitting jiu-jitsu, okay? So a lot of times we tend to think meditation is a straight back. This is actually incorrect. You want your head, think of the pyramids, okay? You're forming a pyramid with your body. So there's a center line right in between the 3 points, coming straight up. The top of your crown, which is your top chakra, is gonna lean slightly in, so you're gonna have a slight tilt right at your hip. And you're gonna have your hands down, and you're gonna elongate your spine, so you're gonna bring your chin slightly in and lengthen your spine, okay? Now this is very common. If you think how people start in no-gi or on the ground, and they slightly lean forward, it is the exact same as a proper meditative state, right? So this is why if you practice your breathing with right spine alignment, then when you're grappling, you're gonna have a correct spine alignment as well, and then your injury rate is gonna go down, and then your field and your mindset is gonna be more powerful, okay? So we're gonna practice the 4-7-8, and what it's gonna, I'm gonna demonstrate it so you guys can hear it and time it, okay? So again, and you can close your eyes or open eyes, I don't really care. That's completely up to you, right? It's a you process, not a me process, okay? So you're gonna breathe into your nose. And if you've never done this, it's somewhat difficult to hold for 7 and push for 8. Okay, so if breathing is new, we like to think we all know how to breathe. We really don't. It's just our subconscious breathes for us to keep us alive. Breathing is an art, right? And it's something you have to learn. So we're gonna practice that together, okay? So we're gonna go through a couple rounds, and then I'm gonna bring in some really a little bit more advanced breathing techniques once we understand how to exhale using Ujjayi breathing. Everybody ready? Let's go ahead again. We're gonna do 4-7-8, okay? At your own pace. We're gonna go through 3 rounds at your own pace. You might feel it come through the top of your head if you're doing it correct. You'll feel it draw through your spine. Visualize the breath. Feel where it's coming from. Feel where it's going. Now, just curious, do y'all feel a difference? Did you feel the relaxation? Could you understand a little bit? Again, I can because I've been doing it for years, right? So it's definitely a little stronger feeling for me, just like meditating for many years is much different than someone that's just starting, okay? So this is a really good practice before you're gonna compete, before you're gonna train. Hone in on your breath. Before you enter the mats, own your field, own you, own your thoughts. Harmonize your body so when you come in, you're in base, you're in balance. So that way, if anything goes wrong, your body's working for you and not against you. Because it's, in the end, it's all here, but ultimately our heart controls here. So we must understand that connection, right? And your breath connects. So now we're gonna go to a new breathing technique. This one's called Bastrika, okay? It is a combination of a long exhale with Kapalabhati breathing. Kapalabhati breathing is something that if you ever watch Hicks and Gracie breathe through his diaphragm and you'll see his ribs show, that's Kapalabhati, okay? Now, what is that doing is that you're taking your diaphragm and you're compressing that diaphragm, which is shooting the oxygen in and out through your lungs. You're not actually using your lungs, it's the diaphragm, it's called diaphragm breathing, okay? Now, Kapalabhati is just that. Bastrika is doing that and then adding the lungs into the exhale. So I'm gonna demonstrate, and sometimes I'll demonstrate without the gi top on, because sometimes you don't really see the effect. And again, if you're slouching, it does make it much more difficult. That's why it's incredibly important to have a straight spine and to have proper alignment, okay? So Kapalabhati is, Bastrika is, it's the same, but now I'm combining my diaphragm with my lungs, okay? And I don't know if you've ever heard or studied Hicks and Gracie. He has a very common exhale. He does that a lot, okay? He does that to recenter his energy, recenter his mind, and to remind him he's okay right now. He's in control. That exhale is what reconnects the heart and the mind. So these breath works, these are good practices to understand, and it's not easy in the very beginning. And it's going to wear your abs out if you've never done it, okay? Now in yoga traditions, they have a certain number that you're trying to get to. In the very beginning, if you guys have never done it, 12 and 15 is probably gonna be pretty difficult for you. In yoga, you're supposed to get to 54, okay? And because you're not forcing the breath, so it's mentally a little bit tough, and you always do 3 of everything. There's another reason why I won't get into that, but I like to do 3 of everything. Okay, so we're gonna practice that together, and it's bringing your diaphragm, which is like your abs are compressing, push-pull, forcing it in, okay? And then you wanna make sure you hear it come out of your mouth. So you take a big inhale through your nose, exhale all the way out, that's Kapalabhati. Now if I add my lungs, it's a lot more forceful. Okay?
You look easy, by the way.
Yeah. I go fast. You guys are probably gonna go slow. And this is the intention, to teach you something a little bit different, right? So let's do that together. And it's okay if you don't get it right. It's okay if it's weird. It's fine. We're gonna move on eventually. But this is the starting point today. All right? And what I'm doing, you guys don't realize, I'm clearing energy on this field. I'm clearing energy on this mat. I'm bringing you, putting you in harmony. So now when I teach, you're focused. Now when I'm teaching, you're in a line, right? There's a bigger power at play to you guys that realize of what you're doing with your own energy. Because jiu-jitsu, all it is a transfer of energy. That's all it is. And then you take that energy and then you add in the alchemy to it, okay? And so if you don't understand yourself, which is what do we tell about jiu-jitsu? The true meaning of jiu-jitsu is to understand yourself. The true meaning of any art is to own yourself. And if you don't have that, then you're forcing your way onto others without understanding here, right? So everything must come here first. And as we get a little older, it's easier to understand. You know, younger, we get testosterone, ego, and all that stuff. We got to remove that identity, remove that ego, and then bring it in, okay? So let's try it. We're gonna do 3 rounds. You guys go to your own pace. You wanna do 5, that's fine. You wanna try to go 54, good luck, okay? You might get on the first one, good luck on the second and third, unless you've been practicing these breathing techniques. So we'll do it, we'll do 3 rounds, and I'll go with you, okay? Clear your breath before you get to the second round. Don't rush. I don't hear anything. It's called bellow breath or fire breath. You'll feel it warm your body up. Mm-hmm. It's a warm up without moving. I do a lot of visualization techniques when I go through this. I visualize the flow of the energy, the flow of the breath, the geometric shapes of my field, which coincidentally is jiu-jitsu. There's a reason why they chose the triangle. It is the strongest shape in our existence. So thank yourself for learning the magical art of jiu-jitsu, right? They knew what was going on, okay? Does that make sense? I know, again, if it doesn't resonate, that's fine. I just want to, for the ones it does, you can dive a little bit more deeper into that, into your training, okay? Okay, now we're gonna go into a yoga flow. And what I'm gonna do is you're gonna see how I'm gonna tie into yoga into the techniques that I'm gonna bring into the class, okay? So I'm gonna demonstrate and I'm gonna break down some of the processing here on yoga. I come from very traditional yoga, Ayurvedic yoga. It's not fitness yoga, so I'm very particular on lines, very particular on spacing and movement and patterns and flow and breath. Okay? It's not about getting in shape. It's about understanding alignments with the body. And then when you understand that, you'll understand how to utilize this into jiu-jitsu really effectively, okay? So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna start on all fours. And don't do it yet, I'm just gonna show you, okay? I'm not good on all the names. My teacher teaches me in Sanskrit, and I've had a hard enough problem with Japanese. So I'm just gonna show you some of the names I'll tell you if I'm confident in saying them. Okay, this one I like to call it the cat's meow because that's what it sounds like, but that's not the fucking name. I just gotta let you know, okay? But the key to this one is how to rotate the hip, okay? So we're gonna go here, and it's the hip is rotating my spine. Do you see that? A lot of people, they tend to use the shoulders. It's nothing to do with the shoulders, it's everything to do with the hip. And once you understand that, you can utilize that in jiu-jitsu and come twice as heavy, twice as strong, twice as effective, okay? So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna rotate our hip down. You're gonna see that spine of that lumbar show. Then we're gonna rotate it forward and you're gonna see the spine form an egg. And it's gonna naturally move your shoulder line, okay? So you're gonna go through one sequence of this, and then when you come up, then we're gonna go to live toes and we're gonna hover the knee. This should look very familiar in applying pressure in jiu-jitsu, right? Hovering the knee in side control. Then we're gonna shoot our hip to our heels, okay? You're gonna see this in guard and a lot of other positions. Now, here's one that's really key when you go to downward dog. It is not a push, it's an extension of the knee. It's very important, and when you do that, and I'm gonna show you how we're gonna do this in passing positions and the difference of a flat foot to your pressure on the ball of your foot. So my objective, and I know it's if you don't do yoga, putting your heel on the ground is probably not gonna happen for you today. That's okay, all right? It's just part of the process, part of who you are. I push it back and I extend. And I like to go a little bit wider because that's traditionally your jiu-jitsu stance here, and this is like your bear crawl stance, okay? Now what we're gonna do is I'm gonna extend my leg out as if you're donkey kicking on your pass up here, and then I'm gonna come up on the ball of my feet, bring my knee into my chest, then I extend. And it's gonna create a straight line, okay? From here, I'm gonna rotate my foot out, keep my spine straight, and I'm gonna lift with the hip up into warrior one. Everything is with the hip, it's not with anything else. And traditional yoga, they actually don't like swinging the arms, it's bad on your joints. Everything is straight lines. Jiu-jitsu, I'll break in that philosophy a little later, but there's a lot of concept of straight lines and curved lines that you're gonna apply, okay? Once we go here, we're gonna go into warrior two, and then we're gonna shift the hip. So you're gonna see the hip shift. This is very important in jiu-jitsu, okay? So if I'm gonna go back, I'm gonna shift forward, rotate back, then I'm gonna come forward, shift back, and then go forward, then I'm gonna come back up, and then my hands are coming down, back down, and then we're gonna start over and go to the other side. Does that make sense? Okay, so get in a comfortable spot where you can kind of see me, and then we're gonna go through this flow. It's gonna be a warm up, and then we're gonna get into how all this starts connecting. And I'll put my top on. And be very mindful of your movements, and be very mindful of your breath as you move. And high-end yoga, it's Ujjayi breathing, you're very loud. Fitness yoga, probably everyone's pretty quiet, right? But high-end yoga is as you're moving, okay? So we start in all fours. Now we're gonna do cat's meow, whatever the fuck it's called, all right? But again, it's the hip. You're gonna feel that rotation of that hip, okay? Very crucial to understand that. So go through one down, one up, then child's pose. You're gonna go to dead toes, come down, and it's about connecting your hip. It's not about rounding your back. It's connecting your hip down, keeping a relatively straight spine. We're gonna come back up to all fours. We're gonna go to live toes, and we're gonna hover the knee. Barely hover. Then we're gonna shoot our hips to our heels. Don't rush. And then an extension of the knee. And as close as you can, put the heel on the floor. Now we're gonna start with our right leg first. I want you to extend at the hip. It's not the leg, you extend at the hip. Now when we come up, you're gonna come up on the ball of your foot on your left. As if you're loading 90-degree line on your shoulders, bring your knee to your chest. As high as possible, and then extend on the knee. Boom. Round your back foot. Straighten your spine. You're gonna feel the base in your hips. Now lift at the hip. Follow the line. Back up and settle. Now turn, look towards your front of your fingers. Okay, now we're gonna go back. So we're gonna do a slight shift forward. Touch your hamstring, bicep to ear. Now back to center. Now shift your hip back. Right palm to calf. Bicep to ear. Everything is with the hip, it's nothing else. Everything is the hip. Back down. Square your shoulder, and you see how I'm rotating. Like my hands are swords. Okay? Straighten your back foot into a high lunge. Come down. Back to downward dog. Now we're gonna go to the left side. Extend at the hip on the left side. Go to the ball of your foot. Line your shoulders up, knee to chest. Extend. Round the back of your foot. Remember your swords. Lift with your hip. Keep your hip low. And this looks familiar. It's how you break De La Riva, how you do standing guard passes, right? Now we're gonna go open it up. We're gonna go backwards, so shift the hip first. Backhand to the hamstring, left bicep to the ear. Square it back up. Shift your hip back. Left palm the inside leg. Right arm bicep to ear. Back up. Square your shoulders. Remember your swords. Come back down. Back to downward dog. There's more to this that I can add, but this is really good. You guys can go ahead and chill now. Believe it or not, downward dog is a resting pose. A lot of you guys probably didn't feel that way. My guess is that your palms probably got a little numb, and there's a lot of weight in your palms. But that means you're pushing. It means you're not settling. It means your hips aren't aligned, and your spine's not aligned. It's a resting pose. This is very crucial. It's how many times your jiu-jitsu when shit starts getting numb, starts wearing out. It's because you're not centering your weight right? When you learn how to center your weight, you can last a little longer even though you're tired, just because you're feeling where your body is, and you can make those little adjustments. Does that make sense? Yep. So that's the warm-up. Any questions on that? Because I can go a little deeper, but again, I don't know how many people do yoga, understand yoga, breath work, so I wanted to start there before I dive a little deeper into what I'm going to teach today. Questions? Everybody good? Okay. See this nice little X thing I built here, right? Okay, so this is actually how a lot of traditional martial arts were taught. judo, aikido, you could even say yoga, but really I learned it in judo and aikido on there, which is my Japanese lineage. Almost all your techniques follow these lines. And when you understand these lines, you'll understand where you're off and where you're right, where your balance is, how your judo is, where the base is, where you're moving them to, where your grip should be, where your alignment of your joints should be. For the most part, they're always gonna follow these lines. Now, the two dominant angles on most arts is the 45-degree line. Very rarely is it the straight line. Even your striking generally has a loop to it. You have your front kicks and your jabs, but even your right hooks, your roundhouse kicks, all that's generally your power play, right? Judo follows a very similar principle. Judo generally, if you watch footwork in judo, it follows the 45-degree lines. Once you understand that and you're training jiu-jitsu, you're gonna see the exact same pattern. Now, when you go to aikido, it's a little bit wider stance because aikido has a lot of, it's called small circle jiu-jitsu. They have a lot of windingness to it. You know, it's like you're adding actually I use the Fibonacci sequence a lot, and you'll see the Fibonacci sequence a lot in jiu-jitsu once you understand how all this applies. Like breaking the Kimura grips, a lot of your breaking mechanics, they're the Fibonacci sequence, right? And there's a reason why it's everywhere in nature. It's also in our body, okay? So once you understand these lines, you can now understand how to teach better and how to move your body where it's safer, okay? So what I'm gonna teach today, it's a variation of ukiwaza. If you guys don't know judo. Ukiwaza is gonna be following this line and this line with my feet. This is called Zenkutsudachi, which is it's like a T stance, okay? So I'm gonna use, where'd Evan go? Is he here? Restroom, okay. Who knows break falls very well? You're the one, come on up. Okay, before I throw her, let me go over break falls, since no one raised their hand. Right. Break falls follow the same line. You can do sideward, forward, backwards break falls, right? But ultimately, break fall has this line to it. You see the line? That's a break fall. Straight line with the arm, straight line with the leg, point the toes back, elbow to knee. This is a proper break fall right here, okay? It's not here, it's not way out here, it doesn't bend, it's not out that. This is incredibly important on break falls, okay? As you see, even the body position of your mobility follows the same geometry, right? Okay, now, I like to use a lot of visualizations. That's how it sticks for me. Maybe it sticks for you. You can create your own. It's your choice, your art, your life. But I use the term sheathing the sword and judo a lot, okay? So I'll use you, Liz. So the sword, because most part for judo, if I'm a right hand thrower, I mean it's gonna be a right hip, it's her right arm is gonna be the primary weapon that I'm using, okay? So whether I'm connecting to the wrist, connecting to the elbow, or connecting to the shoulder, this is the sword and I'm gonna sheath it onto the opposite side of my body. And once I understand that line, it is sheathing into the circle, following, if you visualize a circle on there, the same method flows, because judo is all circular, it's a tornado, the Fibonacci, right? Now I come from, my judo would be more like Japanese Russian style, and they're very, very spinny, okay? Where I see a lot of Brazilians, they actually throw over their shoulders a lot, and it's their own style. But in real old judo, it's very winding, it's very small circle, very powerful, okay? With that in mind, you're gonna see as I move her how all these lines start adding up, okay? So I'm gonna have, can you back up for me, Corey? Yeah, she's not gonna go far, okay? So you're gonna stand right here, and I'm gonna go very slow, okay? So ukiwaza, you guys might know it as a suicide throw, okay? Now in traditional judo, it's actually walking backwards and dropping this way. My variation is, it relates more with jiu-jitsu than it does judo, because judo is just trying to get the back to the floor, jiu-jitsu I'm trying to connect. There's a big difference in concepts, right? So my objective is I'm gonna take this shoulder and this arm, and I'm gonna wind it around this circle until it touches that toe, which is right there on that line. Okay, how I'm gonna do that is I'm gonna use my body to form the same line as I sheathe the sword, and I'm gonna be pulling all the way down the whole time, okay? So I'm gonna have, I'm just gonna start with the collar here, okay? All I'm doing is a break fall. It's very simple, it's super effective, and I'm gonna end up in a very dominant position, ready to submit really quick. If I ever got this in a tournament, I generally won pretty fast. Because it's I always called it the black belt killer. You can go against a black belt judo guy, and if you know this right, this is usually the one throw you can get most people on, okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna step into that line. I'm not bringing her forward, I'm actually launching through her ankles, and imagine your leg as a baseball bat, okay? My right leg actually doesn't really touch the ground, so it's gonna touch in the very end, but I'm falling into a break fall, and I am gonna literally land right here. In a break fall position, you see where the baseball bat's chopping the ankles, and I see the sword, and she's going to land right here. Okay, so you're just gonna do it really tight, and I'm gonna go slow so you can feel it, and then we'll speed it up, okay?
Okay.
So just go ahead and grip me. So as I go to step, I'm gonna launch my body. You see how close she is? So naturally, if I wanted to, her force will pull me up to right here. Oh, I'm so sorry. To right here. You okay?
I'm good.
Does that make sense? Her force will pull me up to knee on belly, right to an arm bar, because I have the sword right there. Okay?
Yeah.
Easy fall, right? Yeah. Okay. So again, I'm gonna step and launch. Judo is a commitment. You commit your body. Like I'm passing a soccer ball. I launch my body. I don't step and sit. This is not it. I commit. You ready?
Yes, sir.
See, I pulled her in. Very effective, very clean. Uno más, and then would you?
So I can watch it?
Yes.
I want to see this.
Thank you.
Collar. I love the elbow. I don't like sleeve control. Not in judo. It does not control the upper body as well as you think. A lot of lag. Okay. Elbow. If you want a tighter elbow, grab inside, rotate it out. Tighter elbow so it doesn't move. You want a tighter grip? Armpit. And I'm going to go over these connections next. All right.
Oh, my armpit hair.
You got some? So I'm going to step and I'm going to launch. Make sense? So let's get some room, drill it, and then we'll go into the next technique. I'm sorry?
On the sit, make sure they're not sitting into the knee.
Sitting into the knee.
Just take that slow.
Yeah. So what he's saying is, make sure that, kind of what I mentioned earlier, you don't step, you launch. You see, like you're sliding in the base. If you don't do that, they're gonna fall in half guard or close guard.
So are you kind of kicking the foot? Like
I'm passing a soccer ball. I'm just chopping it. But do not focus on that. I'm gonna tell you where your focus is. Sheathing the sword and it's nothing else. If you launch your body in the right direction, as long as you have that pull, they are going. If you do not have that pull, watch. He probably won't even fall. See the difference? Where's his sword? Stabbing my ass, right? Does that make sense? It's when I'm falling, I'm drawing in. Very similar to her scissor sweep. Draw in. Eventually you're gonna see all the patterns in jiu-jitsu. All they are is a pattern that just repeats. That's all it is, right? Does that make sense? All right, let's do it. Sorry.
Let's go.
You want me to do it one more?
Yeah. I didn't get a break fall the first time either.
I mean, honestly, it was really pretty with Liz.
That one is okay. So as I step, I'm shooting my hip. See, I never touched.
Better break fall.
Does that make sense? If you touch your right leg, it's not going to be like you think it is. You're going to stop all the energy, all the momentum, everything, right? You have to commit. And it's okay. All you're doing is a forward roll. Jump into it if you want to, it's fine. Relax. Everybody got it? Okay. Relax. It is not lifting. That's where everyone makes a mistake. It's like, oh, that's it. It's not. It's just that. And test it. You should feel the back of your spine push out. Okay? Now, here's interesting. Come here. If you do this right, you're gonna close your guard on me. I'm I'm not gonna say what you feel. I want you to tell me what you feel.
Are we going on? Oh, your hip to my right.
How long is that gonna last? It's already sliding, isn't it?
I'm trying to keep my toes as strong as possible.
Y'all understand what I'm doing? I'm pushing into her calf, which is destroying her ankle connection and wearing it out, and I'm not even using this yet. If I start adding that, it's done. All from that. Make sense? Yes. So it's very important. So now we're gonna do the 8 points as the person is locking and straightening their line without using hands first, and feel how different it is. Everybody got it? 1, 2, 3. And you turn it, it's hard for him to wrist lock. And so the first thing I do is just like Evan did, I actually reach across, I get that handle in that little bone, and I break posture. That's why it's really important to tuck it in and ratchet your hands, okay? So once I go here and I set my position, if I want to add it a little more difficult, coming back to that diaphragm breathing, I'm going to take the crown of my head and I'm going to put it right in that diaphragm so he can't breathe. He also can't crunch. I'm not going to do it on Evan right now, but it's another level that you can apply to this guard break, okay? So once I go right here, now you see I'm live toes. Now what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to start backing out. I was working his ankles earlier with the hip movement. So now he's already starting to get a little bit loose. I'm live toes, coming back to yoga. Extend. He just felt that pressure hit him. Now here's a little detail a lot of people miss on this, is so I want you to think about, we're gonna go this way. Right now, my knees, both my knees are in line with his glute, right? But if I put my knee on his glute, what is it gonna do? It's gonna lift him up, it's jacking him up, right? My knee needs to go to his center line across his spine. Well, that's not relax real quick. That's not a common thing to kind of bring it into the center and then drop, right? I learned this little trick from Lucas Apri. You come down, you put your head in, you extend the knees, and now I'm gonna turn the corner. Look, have a straight line. You do not want a 45 here, or I'm gonna drop, I'm tight, right?
Yeah, I'm good.
I drop down. I want to, almost like a fireman pole. I slide down the pipe. I extend the knee to the chest, kick the heel up, and then I drop to the heel. But I set the line by turning his spine, and what I call kinking the line. I kink the line, he's not as strong. Anytime I take his spine and rotate it or kink it, his muscles lose power. Does that make sense? Okay, so I'm here, down. I like this because I can do it when I'm really tired too. Let's just sit here for a minute. I turn, knee in, boom, I'm inside. Now, the problem right now is if he keeps his guard closed, he's gonna sweep me. That's a problem. Big problem, especially if they're bigger than you. Right? Perfect. So now what I gotta do immediately is I gotta change my control points from armpit to hip. Because if I keep the extension, he can go high guard on me, which is what I do to counter this omoplata, right? I immediately must come into my cage. Ratchet, elbows down, good?
Yeah.
Live toes. And so right now I got semi-pressure. When I use the downward dog technique correctly, feel that? Mm-hmm. I turn the corner, I bring the knee in, straight line. You guys see that straight line out there to that leg? That's key, because you guys are finding it, you're gonna kick them right in the taint, that's fine. You'll learn a lesson later. And then when I slide in, I bring my right elbow in. And then I'm gonna lean to my left side, okay? Because I'm weak to my right. I have no post to my right, so if I stay square, that's how he sweeps. I lean to my right and I start extending my body out. Make sense? And now, anytime I'm trying to fight guard, I don't reach. I reach, they start attacking arms. So I start coming here and start backing out. And then we're gonna go to the next system after this. Anybody need to see that again? The key detail is turning the bus, which is judo. Make sense? So downward dog, pressure, turn the bus, knee to the chest, extend the leg, sit on your heels, slide down the pipe. Lean to your left, bring your bell in, collapses his guard. Yes, sir. I want you right on that line, okay? And you can get a little closer if it helps out. You see how his tailbone and his head are in that straight line of that 8 point, right? And again, you're gonna see how everything starts connecting. Where's his hip now? But I kept his shoulders on those 2 points. And then I moved his tailbone to that 45. And then I slid down the pipe. And then I lean, and I have my own circle here, and I'm leaning to my point, and then I start backing out. Or you can come to knee cut, it's your choice. It's not what I'm gonna teach today, but I just want you to understand how to properly get into that line. Does everybody got it? All right, 1, 2, 3.
Definitely required.
Okay. Over under pass to knee bar, which most of us have probably seen. But I'm gonna teach details that, hopefully you guys know, right? If you know, then you had a good instructor, or you had good YouTube, whatever the fuck it is, all right? So, when we're passing, the more he's facing me, the stronger he is, right? It's a very important concept to understand in jiu-jitsu because I never really want him facing me. I always kind of want him either away or flat, right? So it's a very important line to understand, especially in over-under pass. Now, there's a lot of different variations of what I can do with the outside leg and controlling that leg. In my opinion, I don't focus so much on that. What I do focus is I focus on his top hip joint, okay? So over-under pass, if you guys don't know, top half guard, white belts or blue belts, right? Is my job, again, I'll do visualizations. Yeah, blue, I was there, I got your video, I sent it to you, right? When I enter over-under, I like to visualize I'm jumping on a boogie board in the ocean. And I drive with my chest right into his hip, and I'm sliding into the position, okay? So let's say I was here, I came in, boom. It's a boogie board. The reason why I own a boogie board is because, did you see what happened to his hip when I did that? Hey, I don't know where your magnet is, bro.
I got it.
You really?
No.
Oh. Got him. I don't know what the fuck it is.
Probably in your pants.
Hey, get out of here.
You got it? Yeah. I got you, yeah. Because I slid in, so it pulls it off, right? So what I'll do, I'm gonna put it on the back. Hold on. Fuck with my frame, bro. So I'm gonna slide into the boogie board. Face your back then. Okay, now a lot of mistake a lot of people make in the over-under is they grab the leg. They hug the hamstring, they hug the knee, and I think this is what it is. Really has nothing to do with that. That actually gives him more counterability, okay? Exactly. My job is to go underneath the glute and then grab underneath, and that leg is useless. It just dangles. So I'm sliding into the boogie board and collapsing, okay? Now, once I understand that angle, you're gonna see why I'm choosing a certain angle to collapse the rest of his body. If you see what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to take that right hip joint, the top hip joint, and put it to the ground as close as possible, okay? So I'm gonna come in, I'm gonna go to the boogie board, I'm in my position. Again, I can do all kinds of stuff with this hand. As long as it's not getting attacked, it's fine. You can grab your collar, you can grab the pants, you can grab the lapel. To me, it's not that important because my legs and my chest are doing everything, okay? Now, I want you to, now, once I lift this downward dog, I'm gonna turn my hip. If I have a good control, it's actually gonna be a little bit of a tweak to him. And then I'm gonna walk to the center line, and then what is his hip doing? Driving to the ground, okay? And when I do that, his framing becomes weak, his strength becomes weak. Does that make sense? And now, when I drop into the knee bar, his defense is harder because his line is here and he can't rotate out of it. Just a slight change of angle gives him an angle, so he starts pushing on my head and starts rotating that knee. He gets out of the line of my hip and finds that pocket. So when I walk into that center line, I drop into it. But it's all about the first turn, walk to the center, and I don't move until I see that hip connected to that ground. So you're gonna feel a lot of pressure in the back of your hand, okay? Once I'm here, I bring my ankle over my calf. I'm gonna thrust down, hover, and then I can knee. If by chance I go and he's strong and he rotates me, my grip is already in line to counter his rotation, and I can do a back down knee bar. I go here and he's just strong, he moves me. You okay? You all right? And then I can finish him right there. Because I'm controlling the hip here, and then I can thrust up and get the knee bar. But if I have the hand on the leg, I do not have that option. So I set everything mechanically right before I progress through my movements. And then I change the line, and I center his line, and then I drop into my submission. Does that make sense? So as you see, coming back to the line, I separate, I create the 45, I lock the 45, now I bring him to the 90, and then I attack the 90.